Hi, good morning. Uh, Good morning. Um, Pastor Park already gave a short introduction for me, so I feel like I don't really have to introduce myself again, but I'll still do it anyway. My name is Joy. I'm Pastor Park's oldest daughter, and like he said, I'm from Irvine or Orange County. I want to take off my mask, but I'm sick, so I feel like I shouldn't take it off. So I'm just gonna keep it on if that's okay with everybody. Um, yeah, so I went to Japan for 2 weeks with my church down in Orange County. It's called God's Family Church, and let me just see if this works. I don't think it's working. There you go. Okay, so here are the three goals that my team had before we went to Japan. The first goal was to reach the next generation through Vacation Bible School and college outreach. And the second goal was to fellowship with the churches that we're partnered with in Japan to strengthen our unity all together. And the third goal was to encourage the missionaries that we were going to be with because they are in a spiritually dry climate. So, to give some context, in Japan, the statistics of how many Christians are there is 2%. And that statistic is not even just all Christians, it's like Jehovah's Witness, Mormons, Catholics, like all of that together, it's only 2%. And so the missionaries who are serving in Japan they don't have a lot of community and it can be very lonely for them. So our team just being there was a huge encouragement to them. And so we got to do a lot of fellowship with them and also host vacation Bible schools in the churches that they're at. So here are just some pictures of my team. We got to really build relationships with the kids there, and even despite the language barrier, because only a couple people know how to speak Japanese in our team, we could tell that the kids really appreciated us being there and just spending time with them. And yeah, we got to do so. Our regular schedule through Vacation Bible School is we would welcome the kids, and then we would have a time of worship and praise, and then we would do a time of crafts and games, and then share the word, and then have a snack time. And we would do this for a couple days. And then at another church that we were partnered with, they do something really cool where because there's not a lot of Christians in Japan, we try not to be so direct and up in their face with just sharing the gospel because they could feel they could have their guard up like right from the get-go. So one way that we try to outreach to them is by opening up a space where Japanese people can practice their English conversation skills. And so one thing that we got to do with one of the missionaries is we got to go to this university called Kansai University, and we got to build relationships with some of the students there and ask if they were willing to connect with one of the missionaries that we were partnered with who offers like free English practice. And if these students are willing and they are open to it, we would hope that through this English conversation practice that they would naturally have conversations about the gospel, and then that would make them curious to come out to church. And so we got to practice that and we got to experience that. And I was honestly a little bit scared at first because I'm very shy when it comes to just going up to somebody random and having a conversation with them. But it was such a great experience, and it really taught me the importance of building relationships and how that is the most effective way to showing the love of God. Went too far. Yeah, and so another thing that we did is we did a lot of outreach through English conversation practice. So there was actually an English school that we also got to invite over to the church that we are partnered with, just all hoping that we could eventually get them curious about the gospel through these authentic ways of bringing them out to church. And here are some pictures of us spending time with the missionaries that we are partnered with. We got to go to their houses and we got to just grab dinner with them and enjoy a meal with them so that we could get to know their stories of how they came to Japan, and just to encourage them, hear them out on what are the most difficult parts of serving in Japan, what are the most rewarding parts of serving in Japan. And through that, we feel like we all got to experience what it really means to encourage one another through the love of Christ. We got to also give them a special offering to support them financially as well. This year, we got to experience one of our churches that we are partnered with. They've been needing new chairs for their sanctuary for the longest time, and they finally were able to get those new chairs for their sanctuary this year. So that was just a very rewarding thing to witness, to see God's providence for the missionaries that we're partnered with there. We got to spend a lot of time like sightseeing with the missionaries as well. They got to show us around Japan, and it was really fun. We have partnerships with a church in Osaka and a church in Hokkaido, and these are some pictures of us sightseeing around Hokkaido, which was very beautiful. And here are some pictures of the children that we got to build relationships with the MVBS, and them doing like a special performance in front of the congregation on Sunday. And we also got to, there were also other missionaries that we were not necessarily partnered with, but that we had met while we were in Japan. And so we got to also serve dinner for them. And so building relationships with missionaries from other missions organizations was also really cool. And yeah, here's a picture of my team and the missionaries that we got to meet. I didn't get to particularly meet these missionaries, but my team leader just very candidly met these two missionaries who do a cafe business. They run a cafe in Japan, and they also sell apparel. And on their apparel, they have very like subtle Christian designs in hopes that just random people would ask them like, oh, what does that mean? And then through those subtle ways that they could present the gospel to people, and their hope is for their cafe to be a safe haven for Christians to come and gather and just pray together and be there for one another, because there's very much a lack of Christian community in Japan. And so it's really amazing how God is doing all these things. We are not partnered with these missionaries, but the fact that we got to meet them and hopefully we can do something cool with them next year is already just a huge testament of the work that God is doing in wanting to bring his people back to him through different missionaries and through different people. And I did have a video prepared, but through technical difficulties, I don't think we're able to play it, which is fine. So some of my personal takeaways while going on this mission trip is I didn't think I was going to be able to go this year, because I was going to have to take off some days from work, and I didn't know if that was going to be approved. And there were also just my own personal things of, I don't know if I can raise the funds on my own. And I think a part of me was also like not really willing to go. But all of that aside, I felt like God was opening the door for me to go. And honestly, even up until the day that my team had to depart, I had a lot of reluctance and grumbling in my heart and thinking like, I don't know if God really wants me to go on this mission trip. And I felt like I was sacrificing so much to go on this mission trip. But then while I was serving there, getting to know the missionaries and just seeing how God really doesn't need me, but he just wants me to be there to witness all that he is doing, I could really see like truly how rewarding it is when you give your yes to God and just simply obey. And I really learned the importance of building relationships and how that is the most sustainable way to bring somebody to accept the love of God into their lives. When you're building relationships, that's the most authentic way to show the love of God. And I always made the excuse of, I'm so introverted, I'm so shy, like I'm really bad at building relationships with people, like I'm not really gifted in that way to be intentional. But I realized that's always just an excuse that I've been making. And I think through this mission trip, I really learned that I need to bring that back when in America too, like in my workplace or just around people that are just to people that are around me that God has placed in my life. I need to be intentional with maintaining those relationships, because who knows, like that it could be the avenue for me to show the love of God to the people around me. And so overall, this mission trip has challenged me and encouraged me in a lot of ways. And I'm really excited for the rest of the work that God will do in Japan, even without me and my team being there, and just in hopes that we can continue to partner with them in prayer, even when we're physically apart from each other. And I'm very thankful that I got to share this experience with you guys. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Joy. I'm very proud of you. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.